Hello, Internet. Happy Hump Day. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Wednesday evening. I am joined tonight by my wonderful friend, Tracy Henderson. How are you?
Hi, Michael.
Thank you so much for joining. It was sort of last minute, and I saw this article coming out of Minnesota, or not Minnesota. Is it Minnesota? Montana, yeah. And yeah, it's just sort of right up your wheelhouse. So I thought I'd just read the article, and I mean, you happen to be available. So yeah, let's figure we'd talk about it. So let's see who we got here. Danger, nice to see you. Wally World, nice to see you. Question mark. And hello from Richmond. Nice to see you. All right, so we got a story coming out of Richmond, coming out of Montana, of all places. This isn't a California thing. This isn't, any of the other crazy gender ideology places that you'd expect it from. But this is a story. I mean, a lot of people are reporting on this, but I feel like it's not getting enough attention. And the headline for this one is Montana family loses custody of teenage daughter after expressing opposition to her gender transition. So right off the bat, what are your first thoughts there, Tracy?
Abuse of power by the state. Unfortunately, the state is run by humans, and these humans who think they have more power to decide what is best for somebody's child is just crazy to me. Abuse of power.
It's sort of the general principles of libertarianism right there,
Well, maybe I'm actually a libertarian, Michael.
I mean, the more power you give somebody, the more systems you put in place, the more systems you put in place that can be corrupted. And that's exactly what's happening here. There's something that's happened where people have just decided I'm right in my mind. Like the stuff that's being taught in the schools about you can just change from being a boy to being a girl, just poof, you can do that, and it's being taught as if it's fact. It's really being taught as if there's like science behind this. This is like a non-arguable thing. It's being taught that way, when I mean, in reality, I got the DSM-5 right over here. I can open up, I have way more evidence that I can just point to right off the bat and say, no, this is a clinically diagnosed condition. This is a mental disorder, and we're promoting a mental disorder is what we're doing. And we're not trying to be mean about it. Like you don't want to be mean to anybody but when you're trying to, I mean, for lack of a better term, jam it down everybody's throat, it's become weaponized at this point.
So it's coming from, there's a great documentary by James Patrick, and I'll look at it when you talk and I'll give people the name of it. But where this is coming from is from the highest powers in our society. Silicon Valley finance people. And if I remember correctly, and I encourage people to watch the documentary, there's a finance type Silicon Valley person. One of them is into transsexualism, right? For personal sexual gratification. So he's a transsexual. And if you look at the science behind them, they're over-sexualized. Now, let me just be really clear. I want everybody who's an adult to get their rocks off in the bedroom and go to town. I'm talking about, the challenge of bringing that into our children, into our schools, right? So don't get me wrong. I'm not a prude. Trust me. I've been married 24 years. I've kept my marriage alive. So, but the transsexual,
it's not that kind of show, Tracy.
Not that kind of show. But the transsexuals are over-sexualized. So there's this dude who likes that kind of thing. And there's also a gentleman in our higher echelons of society, I'm thinking monetarily, that is into the ideology of it, right? So it comes down from there. And they're literally, it's the WHO, it's the UN. They're literally trying to over-sexualize our children and normalize pedophilia, all of it. It really is that sinister. And
let me pause you because that sort of like turns people off right there, because they always like, well, that just sounds so crazy and off the wall. Like it sounds like some conspiracy theory that there's this behind the, but it's it's happening. You can clearly point to things, and that it is being driven from the top. And I mean, I think you're getting to an overall point, but why do you think this is happening? And I'm sure you'll get there. So sorry to interrupt you.
Well, where you were going, Michael, is you have to understand it's almost like as parents or grandparents or educators, we have to become wordsmiths. We have to become detectives. When somebody talks, we have to decipher what they're saying. They're trying through really powerful institutions like CPS, like our school systems, they're trying to normalize crazy stuff. And if you're not in the world that I live in, you have to wake up. So let me give you an example. There's a great Studia Nova. It's a great organization that's building schools across the state. She's like me. She's standing in the line at the grocery store and starts talking to this mom. This mom has a 5-year-old in kindergarten. And she says, hey, did you hear about the fact that they're trying to teach our kids in kindergarten about pronoun usage? Okay, right there. If you have half a brain, you should be going ding, 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 ding.
Red
pronoun
flags.
usage,
Yeah.
5-year-old. What?
Right.
There is only 2 genders. What? So your little spidey sense is up. So this mom's like, this cool little mom, little 5-year-old's like, oh no, come on, it's kindergarten. It's my child. They're not talking about that stuff. That's like you just said, Michael.
Right.
That's not happening. So this mom.
It's a process though. But keep going.
This mom turns to this little 5-year-old to show the woman April Bakke from Studio Nova that you're crazy, lady. And she asked her son, she says, hey, are you using pronoun? He says, yeah, I identify as they. This is a true story in Sacramento, California. I'm not
I hate to laugh, but it's just, that is funny at that point.
My point is that you know me. I'm a parents' rights advocate, California Parents Union. I'm a lawyer. I live in the world of truth, that what's really happening in our schools. And the California legislature, government, CPS, like in the story we're going to talk about, Michael, all of them are trying to create a social norm that gender affirmation is good for children, right? Mm-hmm. They tried to put in, I mean, I could go on and on and on.
But why? Why?
Because again, it's literally the bases of our life, money and sex. Did you know that the WPATH just decided there's a gender called eunuch?
I heard about this. Yes.
Stop for a second. Why would they have a gender called eunuch? You want me to really say why I think?
Yeah.
On your show?
Yeah. Oh, do it.
You know what they want? These perverts. I'm sorry, you guys. Again, I dig it when you get your rocks off in the bedroom, but these perverts want bodies with one hole and all of their genitals and boobs cut off so they can do whatever they want with them. They want to create a society of that. That's what's going on. It's sex. And then you get into UCSF.
So this is your theory here. You're just
UCSF, other hospitals, it's money. It's money and sex.
There. So that's so the money thing is what is I'm not
the sex part, Michael. You can't.
I'm not discounting it. I'm not discounting what you're saying, but I want to stick to, well, I mean, we can talk about whatever we want to talk about, but I want to make sure that I wanted to stick to the things that are provable, that you create a lifelong pharmaceutical client when they go through gender transition surgery.
Wrap your head around that theory. I get it. Okay.
So just that, as soon as you start giving a child puberty blockers, and after that process, I mean, it's game over from there. They're a lifelong client, like puberty blocker. I mean, I guess if they could come off puberty blockers, they're not going to be the same after, but puberty blockers, next step surgery. I mean, at that point, you're taking whatever it is, estrogen or testosterone, like all the different, you're a customer for life. And to me, that seems the most obvious goal for the whole thing. Is so
there's a guy named Asaph Orr. Okay. He's a lawyer at UCSF. He's got a paycheck. He's not making this money. So what's his real motivation? He's an activist in this field. Besides his fame and notoriety, what is he really doing it for? I bet you if you drill down on that human being, there's something having to do with sex. If it's not just ideology. Now, just to make your point, Michael, just to prove your point, I have a case. It's in federal court. I said I'm a lawyer, where the mother went behind the father's back and I could probably get him to come on your show right now. His mother went behind the father's back, put the 16-year-old boy through surgery for Supprelin, which is a puberty blocker. It's an implant. That surgery, the hospital was paid $209,000.
But he's 16. He's 16 and he was allowed to. You can't get to. He couldn't get a tattoo.
Right. Couldn't drink.
These are permanent, and that's a permanent decision that you're making there.
Well, and the thick part of it is the mother had him go to a sperm bank and make a deposit because she knew the surgery was going to sterilize him. And you know what we just learned? We just learned that this Supprelin puberty blocker, and I don't know if it's
I think Tim Pool talked about this.
Really? The Supprelin implant, I don't know if it's all puberty blockers because I'm not a doctor, but it freezes you mentally. It freezes you mentally. So this kid is probably going to be mentally 16, 17 for the rest of his life. And the mother let it happen behind the father's back in violation of a court order. So there's your point about money. It's $200,000 to UCSF.
To be fair, I'm like 19, 20 mentally max. Just
okay. Well, you're the therapist in the room, right?
Okay, so let's actually get into the article because this is it's madness because this is like it's to the max extent, you know. Okay, actually, remember how I said it comes in it's a cycle that it happens in. Like you're talking about that parent that first was saying oh, that's not happening. They're not teaching my 5-year-old. Oh, Timmy. Well, so first it comes in phases. So first it's not happening. That's not happening. And then the next phase is okay, maybe it's happening a little. And then the next phase is okay, it's happening a lot, but this is why it's good. And this is how it always happens. And it is this like cognitive dissonance. You can't even call it cognitive dissonance, but it's like this slow accepting process because it's like when you're on the left, you have to defend all these positions. And if you step out of line on one of them, you're out of the club. So people, you know, when people say, it's not happening, they're not putting tampons in men's bathrooms. Like, remember when Dennis Prager said that on Bill Maher's show and everybody laughed at him? And years later, it's like, this is a normal thing. Well, yeah. So, you know, people get left behind. They're like, yeah, it's not happening. And then all of a sudden they look around and like, holy crap, that is happening. That guy I called a conspiracy theorist was telling the truth. And then they have to sort of be quiet and just be like, okay, someone tell me give me a good reason for why this is good. And they start grasping at straws and like it is like a form of cognitive dissonance. It's like this way of accepting or defending the ideology that you've adopted. It's this weird thing that's going on in society. It's like it keeps getting pushed further and further to the extremes. And now we're to the point where, yeah, kids should chop their tits off, chop their dicks off, and they should give kids puberty blockers. Like that's where we're at now. How did we get here?
Right. I know. It's like unbelievable. Like whoever says that's okay, you really have to look at that person and go, are you right in your head? You're okay with medically mutilating a little girl for the rest of their life.
It's sick.
Fuck. Excuse me. But
okay, you're in the nest.
Sorry.
Oh, you're okay.
I can't help it, Michael. It makes absolutely no sense to me. It makes but
Cassia's on. Hi, Cassia.
Yeah, hi, Cassia. There's a book she's talking. So Cassia is a librarian. She's also California Parents Union's Ledge director. And she said there's a book for young children that says when you're born, the doctor guesses your gender for you. It's called Feel Good. Are you kidding me with this?
Oh, crap. All right, don't distract her. I'm going to trigger her enough right now with this. Did you well, let me just say hi to the chat really quick. Everybody's on there. Wally World, Cassia, let's see, B Sizzo, nice to see you. Question mark. I think I triggered question mark because he's okay. So yes, Tim Pool did discuss this case. Thank you, question mark. Okay. Yeah, I triggered question mark. He's going off. Sorry, question. I can't read all that stuff right now. I got to get into we actually got to get into this article. I do want to read it to you.
Get into the article.
It's kind of long. So this is from, and this isn't a right-wing conspiracy theorist propagandist magazine. This is Redux or Redux,
okay.
REDUXX. I'm not going to pull it up on screen. There's no need. Oops, knocking my mic around. Can you still hear me? Okay. So they say feminist news and opinion, but I would imagine that this would be they would call them TERFs. These feminists. That's what they would be called.
TERFs. Okay, so what's a TERF? Like,
you're not familiar
I'm
with
a
the TERFs?
tomboy. I don't know what any of this is.
Well, you would probably be considered a TERF. Let me see if I can fix my mic here.
A TERF
is
transitioning.
A TERF is a trans exclusionary radical feminist. Is what a TERF is.
Trans exclusionary radical feminist?
Yes, meaning I'm a feminist, but you can't be in the club because you're a dude.
Why is it
you're really a dude?
What does that mean?
Trans exclusionary, meaning you're excluded from my feminism.
Oh, I like that.
It's the opposite. It's the opposite of the awfuls. Are you familiar with the awfuls?
No, educate me. No, I like that. Tell me.
It's Michael Malice's acronym. I believe it's affluent white liberal women.
That's not me.
The awfuls. Yeah, no, you're not liberal. So yeah.
But that's okay. The awfuls. I like that. Affluent white liberal women.
Well, Michael Malice just said to the awfuls, having a trans kid is like winning the lottery. Is what he said is the funniest shit. Because it's true. It's just like, oh, I got a look at me prize. It's so unreal. Like I say it all the time as a joke, but I'm kind of serious that white liberal women will lead to the extinction of the human race. So,
well, it's really scary to me as a woman and a mother. I gave birth that it's women that are perpetuating this. I have 3 cases where it's the women who are pushing the transitioning. What do they think they're being good mothers? I mean, I would love to have a conversation with one of them.
You know my buddy Harrison, right? Over in Los Gatos,
yeah.
Harrison, Tennessee.
Hi, Harrison, if you're here.
Yeah, so same situation with him, it's madness. All right, so here, let's get into this. This is out of Glasgow, Montana. So this is written by Anna Slatz over at Redux. And title is Exclusive Montana Family Loses Custody of Teenage Daughter After Expressing Her Opposition to Her Gender Transition. So, and we'll stop and talk periodically just because there's a lot to get into here. A family in Glasgow, Montana is accusing the state's Child Protective Services of kidnapping their teenage daughter after the girl began identifying as a transgender boy. Krista and Todd Kolstad spoke to Redux about their ordeal, revealing that the child had been removed from their care and was now going to be sent to Canada. Krista, the child's stepmother, explains that their nightmare began in August of 2023 after they received a call that their 14-year-old daughter, Jennifer, had expressed suicidal ideations while at school. She always had a problem at school, Krista said. Nothing that she and Todd had ever pulled her out of one district and sent her to another due to issues with bullying in an effort to give her a fresh start. But despite experiencing some real-world hardships, Krista claims Jennifer also had some undiagnosed mental health concerns, including attention-seeking behavior. Okay, so we're getting somewhere, aren't we? Later on the same evening, a caseworker with Montana Child and Family Services, CFS, showed up at the Kolstad home to speak with Jennifer and do an inspection. Krista had been preparing dinner at the time and invited the caseworker to tour the residence despite both her and her husband being distressed by the sudden appearance. So actually, I got to stop there. Tracy, as a lawyer, my first gut is you guys can get the hell out of here. What do you want? You are not coming anywhere near my home. What's your deal? You are not here to help me. You are the state.
Don't open the door. Don't open the door. Make them get a warrant.
Okay. Yeah.
And don't talk to them. Every time somebody doesn't have a case against you, CPS, the police, doesn't matter. If you talk to them, they'll twist your words and make a case.
Well, and letting them in your house, I mean, you are now giving them documentation of whatever they can find to use against you, right?
Right. Oh, you forgot your, glass of wine over there from last night that you didn't finish. All of a sudden, you're an alcoholic.
Right. So yeah, the state is not here to help you. If CPS is, they're cops, right? They're basically cops.
Basically cops. Do not, and people want to be nice. They want to just resolve it.
Right.
You just want to talk through it. Don't do it.
I'm going to cooperate.
Call me. I'll talk to him.
I was so cooperative, and now they're hammering me because of this thing that I let them see. Like, yeah. Anyway, okay. All right. So there it is.
It's just in the article. I'll jump ahead for a second, but it makes the point. They were in the hospital, and they kept saying, "Don't talk to my daughter about transitioning." And the nurses and everybody came up to them and said, well, why aren't you concerned about her suicide? You're so concerned about that. See how they twisted it? See how they twisted what the parents said? Do you understand, Michael? Did I make sense?
Say that again. This is something I already read, or this is later
in the article that they're in the hospital.
We'll get to it. Yeah.
Okay. They're in the hospital, and they're telling the nurses not to talk about gender transitioning, not to talk about any of this stuff. And the nurses and the doctors say to the parents,
right,
well, why aren't you concerned about her suicide attempt? And they're like, because she didn't have one. You're making that up, right? But do you see how they're twisting just their concern for their child? They're twisting it into a bad thing. That's a great example of why you don't talk to the CPS or the police.
That's very narcissistic behavior too. All right. So during the interview with CFS, Jennifer claimed to have consumed toilet bowl cleaner and painkiller medications that day in an effort to commit suicide. Krista says that it had immediately struck her as being highly unlikely, as not only did Jennifer not have access to either substance unmonitored, but Jennifer had expressed no symptoms of imminent illness that day. And yeah, if you drank, what'd she say, toilet bowl cleaner and painkillers, you're like,
you dead?
Well, toilet bowl cleaner, yeah. Painkillers, you're gonna be all loopy, like you're gonna be able to tell. But okay, so maybe she took a shot of toilet bowl cleaner and took some ibuprofen.
In the article it said she didn't. They shared their medical record.
Okay, well,
they shared the girl's medical records.
It probably gets into it. This is a pretty long article. Despite their doubts about the veracity of Jennifer's claims, Krista and Todd agreed to take Jennifer to the local hospital on an emergency basis, while their blood work returned that Jennifer had not consumed any toxic substances. So there you go. Krista and Todd provided Redux with copies of Jennifer's medical paperwork to substantiate their claim that Jennifer had not consumed any dangerous substances the day she was admitted to the hospital. The paperwork confirms that there were no abnormalities detected in Jennifer's system, and her overall physical health was good, but notes taken at the hospital consistently mentioned that Jennifer identifies as a male and wishes to be called Leo. Okay, so it continues. Krista says she and Todd immediately made their objections known to the hospital staff, requesting Jennifer be called by her birth name. We are very, and this is in quotes, we are very clear to the emergency room staff as well as CFS that this goes against our values, morals, and religious beliefs, she said. But hospital staff refused to listen. They told me to call their lawyer if they had an issue, as they will do what their patient tells them.
Okay.
I know you got thoughts on that part.
You're not a dad yet.
No.
But that, if I wasn't a consummate professional, I'd freaking punch that person in the stomach. How dare you tell me what is best for my child? That's my reaction. It's excuse me?
Well, what strikes me about this whole thing is this is a hospital. This isn't some super wokeified school. This is now a wokeified hospital. This well, really, I mean, everybody's used to the schools being super woke, and you're going to get indoctrinated in schools. Well, you go to the hospital. We learned a lot through COVID, right? That there isn't a lot of following the science going on, especially with like Santa Cruz County. They're still forcing masks on people, by the way, in hospitals.
No, you're kidding me. And
county mandate, county health officer mandate.
You're kidding me.
No, until April. No, I have the thing. I can pull it up.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's insane. So it's trickled into the hospitals now. That's what strikes me about this whole thing. This isn't schools. This is a hospital. Okay, so
what are nurses and doctors doing, allowing this stuff? They know better. They know better, Michael.
Well, what business? I'm trying to figure out how this whole thing got, how did this whole thing get on gender anyway? I don't. Anyway, we'll keep going with the article. While the medical transitioning of minors was prohibited in the state of Montana at the time, Krista says the hospital told her that social transitioning was a gray area and continued to call Jennifer Leo and referred to her as a boy. So it's like they know they're going against the parents' wishes. They know that they're on shaky ground with what they're doing, but they're just, we're going to prove our point, and we're going to keep calling your kid Leo. These people are psychopaths. As a patient admitted for suicidal ideations, Jennifer was placed on 24/7 watch to keep her safe. But Krista says an aide was placed outside her door who would regularly talk to Jennifer about gender-affirming care. Unreal.
Right.
I came one day and she was talking about having top surgery. And let's just be clear, top surgery. This is another one of those newspeak things, like sanctuary city, sanctuary state. Top surgery. You mean a mastectomy? That's usually done for breast cancer because they need to be removed. There's nothing wrong with these body parts that you're removing from a child, and you're calling it top surgery. You're trying to dress it up in some newspeak 1984 crazy Orwellian hogwash. It's infuriating.
It's cutting boobs off minors.
Yeah.
In this case, how old is this kid? 14. It's cutting the boobs off a 14-year-old. I don't know. Yeah. Can you put the boobs back on later? So, or you personally just permanently disfigure this 14-year-old girl? So, I mean, really, Michael, you have to say this to people what it is. Like you're saying, we can't. Your audience has to walk away with this call to action. Do not participate in it. Don't use the word top surgery.
Don't use their language.
Oh, you mean medically mutilating 14-year-olds by cutting their boobs off them?
Right.
That's what you need to repeat back to people.
Correct.
Don't participate in it.
100%. This is why a lot of people think like a lot of people say, you're going to lose like talking like the way that I do. No, we're so far past being like, there's nothing logical and reasonable about these people that we're talking with here. That they're trying to get children to cut off their body parts. On top of all of this, this is a nurse. This is a kid that's supposed to be in there because they had suicidal ideations. And you're a nurse and you decide to take it upon yourself to whisper to the kid, "Hey kid, you can cut your tits off, right?" What are you thinking? Like how?
This is not funny.
Like, how did we get here? Again, how did we get here? I'll continue. Sorry, this article is going to be tough to get through. I came one day and she was talking about having, I don't even want to say the word, talking about cutting her tits off and being non-binary. Krista says on the side, she took her complaint to the on-duty doctor who dismissed her. He told me, why are you not more concerned that your daughter is trying to harm herself with what the aide is talking about? Another aide who had been sent to watch Jennifer similarly chastised Krista, telling her to respect Jennifer's wishes to be called Leo.
So Michael, that's gender transitioning. Okay. When you start doing, there's a great federal court case out of Escondido that most of us know. The two teachers sued and the federal judge has a brain. God bless the federal judge. You're participating in socially transitioning. Now, unfortunately,
psychological manipulation.
Right. But it's socially transitioning. Unfortunately, for the story here, you're in the hospital setting, which is where it's appropriate. I don't believe boys can become girls and girls can become boys. So I have a really hard time even talking the language that we're talking.
What do you mean? Yeah. What do you mean you don't believe it? It's not true. It's denying objective reality. You like even you saying I don't believe it somewhat legitimizes their argument. You know what I mean? Saying you don't believe it is like saying that they have any sort of ground to stand on. It's psychotic what they're suggesting. It's denying abject reality. Isn't a thing. And they're jamming it down everyone's throats like this is real. This is reality.
Yeah.
Seriously. It's psychotic.
Thank you. It's so refreshing. I mean, but people are doing it, Michael. Really powerful doctors are cutting the boobs off 14-year-old girls for money. But my point is that we're in a hospital. If it was real, if it was normal, if you should do it, that's the place where it should be most safe. But they're cramming it down a 14-year-old. and they're in collusion with CPS to take this 14-year-old away from her family.
And we
I mean,
haven't
the
even got there
story
yet.
I don't feel safe in hospitals anymore, Michael.
Oh, neither do I. I had to get my knee surgery, remember? And I was seriously concerned they were going to vaccinate me.
Yeah, me too. My daughter had a abscess, like strep throat will get in your soft tissue and get a big old abscess. And she had to go to the hospital and she had to stay overnight. I thought I was going to die because they wouldn't let me stay with her.
You're like, don't touch my fucking kid.
I was going to die. And I put her in the hands of a giant man nurse. And I'm thinking, okay, I feel okay about this guy. And Ainsley was okay. But as I'm walking away, my knees were going out from under me. It was everything against everything but I left her there and I was back there at 6 a.m. You know what I mean? I don't trust hospitals anymore, especially here on the Monterey Peninsula.
You're not alone. No, I had Dr. Mary Talley Bowden on. We were talking about this. It's just the credibility for the the credibility for the entire medical establishment and, institutions that are supposed to be the go-to, like the CDC. You mentioned the CDC before COVID started, like if you said, I work for the CDC or I'm affiliated with the CDC in any way, people would be like, oh, you're hot shit. You must be smart. You know your stuff. Now it's like you say you work for the CDC. You're like, oh, you freaking liar. You bought and paid for, how you like Pfizer? Like you're a joke now.
So you and Pfizer hang out. I bet the parties that Pfizer throws you are really good. Did they buy you the Lamborghini yet?
But like, look at those polar opposites. They've the amount of damage they've done to their credibility. All institutions, all medical associated institutions, is the FDA. All of them. All right, we'll try to get through this. Kristen describes Jennifer's time in the hospital as a period of constant efforts to undermine her and Todd's parental authority. In addition to not respecting their wishes to refer to Jennifer by her birth name, hospital staff refused to abide by any other requests, such as limiting Jennifer's TV and phone time, encouraging her to do her schoolwork, and not allowing her to have copious amounts of junk food. Just basic stuff that a good parent does.
Right.
During this time, Kristen and Todd had communication with child and family services and agreed that Jennifer would benefit from specialized residential care for treatment and counseling. But during conversation about where Jennifer could be placed, Krista says the possibility of her being moved to Wyoming was presented. They told us that there were 6 facilities in Montana, but there was also a facility in Wyoming. And at that point, because we were already in such a state of the hospital disrespecting us and our wishes, we immediately looked up Wyoming's laws on transitioning minors. Krista says it looks like kids could go ahead and have procedures done and have hormones without parental consent.
Right.
So
do you see what's going on here?
The plan is emerging. Yeah. It's insidious. It's insane.
I don't know if you read this in the article, but in Montana, what they were doing was illegal. So this hospital is culpable. You've got CPS in a state where they know it's illegal. So what are they going to do? They're going to take this kid to Wyoming.
Human trafficking. Yeah, they're going to traffic this child across the state. Across state lines. Remember the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff? Right? He brought a firearm across state lines. Yeah, you're bringing a child across state lines because you can chop her tits off. You freaking psychopaths. It's insane.
It's so even when you say it, Michael, and you're my friend, it's so shocking. Cutting the tits off a child. Everybody needs to hear that. That's what's happening. Cutting the tits off a child.
It's true. Yeah, it's. I'm just saying what's happening. Like, I'm just making an observation and then describing it with words. That's all I'm doing. Okay. Concern began to set in. Sorry, like, you don't say. Really? It's like, I feel like that sentence might have been able to be left out. I think we can all tell that the parents might have been concerned at this point. Right. But Krista and Todd were assured that most likely scenario was Jennifer being placed in a Montana-based facility. And on August 22nd, Krista and Todd were told that Jennifer was next in line for a bed in Billings, Montana. But hours later that same day, Krista and Todd were called and informed Jennifer would be moved to Wyoming.
Of course they were.
Right. It's so triggering.
Worse.
Okay.
Worse.
It's horror stories, yes. So they called us and told us that a bed had opened up in Wyoming and that Jennifer needed to go. The doctor said she has to go. She's not doing any good here, and we were already blown away. Krista recounts. No one talked to us about the name of the facility. We had no one to answer our questions. We told them we wanted our questions answered before we accepted the bed. Well, yeah, before you take our kid to another state, we just want you to answer some questions. 10 minutes later, Child and Family Services arrived at Colstead residence with police. They showed up at their home to serve the papers to take Jennifer out of our care, Krista said. They told me the reasons was that we were unable or refusing to provide medical care. That's just not true. The next day, August 23rd, Jennifer was transported to Wyoming, despite the fact that Krista and Todd were not allowed to see Jennifer during her move. CFS did not allow Jennifer to stop and see friends and coworkers prior to leaving the city. Krista had later found out that Jennifer had told her friends that she was crazy and trying to kill herself and was being taken away from her parents. So I'm sorry, like I'm literally speechless. I need to keep reading, but it's just
you said CFS, but it's CPS. CPS has
they call it CFS in this state.
Okay, so CPS in California has
Child Protective Services.
Terminate your parental rights. They have under the Welfare and Institutions Code, they have the power to terminate. It's a very, very scary thing. CPS is a very dangerous organization. You couple that with sounds like they got an order from a judge without due process. This family needs a lawyer. Terminating parental rights without due process and kidnapping a child to take him to Montana. What a nightmare.
Beyond that, yeah, that's okay. So she continues, and it's called CFS, but just know that it's CPS here.
Services. Okay,
yeah.
I'll look at it.
Yeah, child. I can't think of a clever one off the name. Yeah, I can't think of a good one.
But in California, for you, because this is CaliBased, in California, it's Child Protective Services. Yeah,
correct.
That's a name that they need to change. They don't protect.
No, it's right. I feel this was it's like healthcare. Like it's not healthcare, it's sick care. Like nobody gets healthcare. It's everybody gets sick care. Healthcare is at the hospital.
As I understood it, I'll look at the article, but as I understood it, this is like Child Protective Services, where their job is to protect children from abusive parents, essentially, and neglect.
No, I was just making an analogy that it doesn't make sense. They're not protecting the kids; they're doing the opposite.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, like healthcare. I'm just saying. Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
I feel this was a lapse in judgment by CFS, a violation of HIPAA, and a miscarriage to Jennifer, as she is only 14. What if she was? When she is 17, this incident is behind her and she is in a good place mentally. ? This is a very small town, and they have just let her brand herself as the crazy kid who tries to kill themselves. Okay, I see what you're saying. When Jennifer was
a small town, they're worried about her reputation, and this, one thing to understand, Michael, is kids are not thinking about transitioning their gender or cutting their body parts off. Somebody has put that idea in their head.
Right. And they already said she's a kid that has, attention-seeking behavior. And, they don't 14 doesn't necessarily understand the repercussions of the words that you say. So if you say, I tried to kill myself, and you didn't actually try to kill yourself, and people are going to think that you tried to kill yourself, and that causes problems. So here we are. But
attention seeking, you're going to get attention if you try to kill yourself.
Exactly. So, but now you're branded something. So Krista later had requested Jennifer's records from the center in order to get an understanding of what happened to her while she was at the facility. And this is a copy of the records. But on September 25th, Jennifer was returned to Montana and placed in a youth dynamics group home where she has remained ever since. She's still there outside of her parents' care.
What's the date of this article?
I think it's from today. They called it temporary legal custody, which means they have the say over where she is. But we are supposed to be able to have the say over everything else. But that was not upheld. There were incidents of her getting vaccines we did not consent to. We were not told the name of the doctors involved, and she was allowed to shave her head, Krista says. So they They took her kid, put the kid in a group home, vaccinated the kid without the parents' consent, and let the kid shave the kid's head.
This is an abuse of power. This is an abuse
This
of power.
this is a dystopian novel, is what this is. No, it really is. This just because. So I feel like everybody's been conditioned by movies, and they expect dystopia to look like 12 Monkeys with Brad Pitt or something, or 1984. You know, where it's concrete everywhere and like brutalist architecture and just everything's overbearing. Everybody has the same suit on. No, it looks like this. It looks like what we're living in right now. They took this kid away from the parents, put the kid in the group home, injected the kid, and let the kid shave its head. And the kid's still there. This is dystopia. This is absolute madness. What's taking place in this, and this is in Montana. This is in California.
So Kasia, if you're still here, so Kasia is our legislative affairs director. Do you guys remember the bill? Do you remember the bill, Michael, where now at 12 years old you can consent to signing yourself into mental health residential treatment? That's
yeah.
12 years old in California.
Well, that was Scott Weiner's bill, right? There's a whole bunch of them that work together like that. So there's that one, but then there's another one that like gives the school the right to check a child into the, so there's like one that allows a child to stay in. There are two separate bills. One allows the child to stay in like the group home without the parents' consent. Like they don't have to tell the parents where the kid is or whatever. And the other one that allows the school to say, hey, do you want to go to a group home to have some away time? So there's like two different bills working together to separate the parent from the child.
I think you might be talking about the same thing.
Is it the same bill? I think it's different. I think there's two different ones.
The idea is 12 years old can consent to mental health treatment in a residential facility. You don't know what you're doing at 12 years old. You're pissed off at your parents. They ground you and they take your cell phone away. You run away from home. You go to the school counselor. You complain. They lock down on physician-patient privilege. And next thing you know, you're saying, yeah, I want to go to a residential treatment because I don't want to go home because my mom and dad are hurting me. And I think I can get better care in a mental health facility. Next thing you know, you're in this place and they're jabbing you and letting you shave your head and everything else.
Yeah. And
it's really scary and it makes no sense and it is dystopia.
And you know there's going to be a very specific moment where Jennifer says, I just want to go home.
They always do.
This is I kind of got goosebumps when I said that right now. It's the child is going to get to that point where it sort of all culminates and it's just like there isn't even a what have I done reflection. It's just I want to go home. Like it goes to show that they can't make these decisions. This child's not going to be able to process what's happening. There's just going to be this overwhelming sense of like a fight or flight type response. I mean,
so Michael, I used to, when I was a baby lawyer and I was a public defender, I got the contract to be minors counsel over in San Benito County. And that's in the in the dependency system. And that's all about, what we're talking about. By the way, it's Child and Family Services in Montana. It's Child Protective Services in California. So they have the power to take kids away from parents who are neglecting and abusing their children. And I would represent the kids and the parents would torture and beat them. And they would still want to go home because it was mom and dad. So that instinct is ingrained in a child, and she'll realize. I mean, you got to talk to detransitioners. There comes a point where they realize once the attention they want wears off, or the thrill of it, or they're not popular, or whatever it is they're doing. The reason they're doing this, they'll realize and they'll want to go home. And you said this article's today, so I hope this family has a lawyer because she's still in this facility.
Yeah, we'll keep going. They called it temporary legal custody, which means they have the say over where she is, did I read this part? Oh yeah, I already did. Since Jennifer returned to Montana, Krista and Todd have told monthly court meetings. Krista and Todd have had monthly court meetings along with Child and Family Services to determine the next steps. The couple was assigned to a public defender who simply encouraged them to keep their head down until the process was complete.
Well, that's not a lawyer I would recommend. It's called, when I saw that, I used to be a public defender. I'm not going to bash public defenders, but a lot of them are overworked and they just don't fight hard enough. A lot of you hear the plea deals that happen. A lot of that is because the public defenders are overworked and they can't really fight for the cases. When I was a public defender, I had 300 cases and I tried to try all of them. And my husband came home one day and he said, "You're quitting your job. You can't work 15 hours a day." So that's an unfortunate public defender. Seriously unfortunate.
Well, she sort of agrees with you. She says, "I am not trying to throw them under the bus, but all of their advice has been plain nice. Just let her finish the group home program and then get her back in your care and move on with your lives." But while the group home placement should have been just 6 to 9 months, the family situation took a dramatic turn for the worse during the hearing on January 19th, 2024. So just recently, when the court decided to hand custody of Jennifer over to Child Family Services. Like, permanent. Is that so? We were told that letting Jennifer transition and live as a boy was in her therapeutic best interest. And because we weren't willing to follow that recommendation, the court gave CFS, Child Family Services, custody of Jennifer for 6 months. Krista says CFS is now going to place Jennifer in the care of her birth mother in Canada, who has never really been a part of her life. The judge said to us, "You need to expect that reunification with your family may not be what you are expecting." Jennifer's birth mother, Christine, currently lives in Kitchener, Ontario, with her new husband. Canada, if I mispronounced that word, I don't care. It's Canada, and I just don't care. So I apologize. No, I don't apologize either. I don't care. It's Canada. After Jennifer was born, Christine reportedly left the child with Todd and has never been involved in her care ever since. Since she's called to see how Jennifer is, she's never sent her anything. Nothing, Krista says. According to Krista, any communication from Christine at all has been sparse, and she has never made any meaningful effort to have a relationship with the children she left in Montana. Despite her apparent lack of interest, Krista has been sending Christine semi-regular updates on all of her children for the past 7 years. But disturbingly, Krista explains that she and Todd have grave concerns about Christine's fitness as a parent. I have this letter from the Jennifer's previous counselors that recommends that Christine wants to come back to her children's lives. She should do unification therapy. There should be trial visits, and this stuff should happen because the children reported her as being abusive, Krista says. Krista and Todd provided Redux with a copy of the statement from a licensed professional counselor detailing the sessions that Jennifer and her sister had attended. Both girls described Christine as being uncaring, abusive, and even crazy.
Lovely.
In one section, last paragraph. Well, actually, yeah, almost. Well, go ahead. You want to say something?
Well, lovely. Now you've got a judge putting this child back in the hands of an abusive parent. Is there anything with a brain in this situation?
It's massive trauma on top of massive trauma to a child.
I just pray for this kid. And his family.
So much. The kid was having pretty much normal childhood issues, attention-seeking issues, and it would say, said some things about killing yourself. Like, that's the point where you sit down and you have a talk with your kid. Like, look, killing you, like, you may not understand what suicide means, and that's when you have the suicide talk with the kid, a very stern talk. Like, look, this isn't something that you can joke about, and if you are actually having these thoughts, you need to talk to people. It's like instead they rip this child away, put this kid in the hospital and say, you need to start transitioning your kid. It's psychotic. They took pretty much normal childhood trouble that you have growing up. It's a very confusing time. The kid's 14, like super hormone time, and it's your kid's doing pretty much normal 14-year-old stuff, like maybe, a little much, but there's things that we do that I'm sorry, Tracy. This is just
well, what's really sick, Michael, is these people. Okay, so these people that think gender affirming care is okay. It's people that should put on an island and
you're doing it again. Gender affirming care. That's another one of their things. Don't use their language.
They believe in it. Okay, they believe, these people that believe in that.
They believe in genital mutilation.
What they're
and
doing
giving.
Is Mr. Scary part about what they're doing is they're going after intentionally our more vulnerable children. Like our children are already vulnerable. We need to protect them as adults. We need to help raise them. But what these sick mother puckers are doing is going after kids that like have autism or self-esteem issues, have abusive homes, right? That kind of stuff. Because it's kind of like the gang. When somebody invites you into a gang, you don't have a strong family system. The gang will replace that lack of a strong family system, right? And the loyalty and the love that you wanted from your parents and your family, and you don't get it, you get it from a gang. It's the same idea. They prey on the most vulnerable of our children, and it's infuriating. It makes me sick to my stomach.
Well,
autistic kids are a great example, right?
Well,
they want to feel cool. And this twinkly bullshit on TikTok of the twinkly gay family where everybody's wearing rainbows and stuff is exciting to them. And so they're easy prey for these sick people who want to cut off body parts.
Well, you're touching on something there. So James Leslie talks about this a lot with the whole diversity, equity, and inclusion ideology. That's like where all the wokeism comes from. The whole diversity, equity, and inclusion mantra, ideology crap. It's where all this stuff comes from. And his whole idea is, well, it targets a very specific type of person, somebody that's usually lacking religion. And this has become a religion. What this is, it's very cult-like behavior. It's this stuff. I mean, look what, like, you're like, you look at it as a sacrifice. You're like sacrificing body parts to the woke gods. It's freaking madness.
Michael, they're virtue signaling. They've drunk the Kool-Aid, and they think that this is a good thing, right? The great story that helps me cognize it, because it's absolutely crazy. I cannot wait to have a one-on-one conversation with one of these crazy mothers that supports this. But they were over in the East Coast somewhere in Virginia. They were passing out butt plugs to kids. Like school administrators at some fancy Virginia school were passing out little bags of sex toys and butt plugs. And it was they're wealthier families. And my husband is a principal. And I turned to him and I said, what the hell are these parents doing? Like, who jumps on the bandwagon of passing out butt plugs and sex toys to their children in a fancy private school? And he said, Tracy, they're virtue signaling. They want to be part of the club. It's the in thing. It's the it thing. It's really delusional. What it is. That's the explanation. It's virtue signaling.
There's a
virtue signaling. You know what you need to say to a person who still wears a mask in your area because in the hospital? You need to say, I know who you're voting for. You must really enjoy CNN. It's virtue signaling. That's what this is.
You know what I do? I just walk up next to people that wear masks and I fart and I sit there and I wait and just smile at them. It's like, you smell that? Oh, do you? I don't really do that, but I want to. If I ever do it, I'll get it on video.
I cough next to them. I go, or I go.
All right, we're almost done with this article. We're almost through it here. So there's still more. In one section of her statement, the counselor describes one of the girls as witnessing incidents of violence directed at an older sibling, which involved Christine throwing that sibling against the refrigerator after becoming enraged at her for wearing her mother's jewelry without permission. The child goes on to detail the incidents with her biological mother would punch, hit, slap, or kick her and her siblings. Jennifer similarly alleged disturbing cases of abuse by her biological mother, including one time Christine reportedly grabbed her around her wrist while repeatedly slapping her face. They're putting this child back in the home. Oh my God. Of the 5 children Christine and Todd had together, only one had lived in Canada with Christine prior to aging out of her care. While living with Christine, the boy exhibited severe behavioral problems to the point where Christine approached Krista and Todd for help. In one conversation, Christine admitted to regularly checking homeless encampments and police records in anticipation she would one day find her son in jail. Child and Family Services was provided both the counselor's statement and the text messages, but Krista said nothing could be done to intervene in Jennifer's placement. One family has been destroyed by this. We have little to no contact with Jennifer, and our rights as parents have been trampled on, Krista says. But despite the turmoil that have been brought into our lives, the couple says they will never stop trying to help their daughter come home. Krista and Todd chose to defy the judge's orders to remain silent on the case in order to tell their story. I'm sure so glad they did. They were set to appear in the court today to respond to the charges of contempt, but have had to delay the hearing due to a family emergency. We will continue to fight. We will never give up on our daughter and for what we believe is morally right. We will continue to tell our story, even though we are currently in contempt of court, and we try to keep other families from going through this. Our greatest fear is that our daughter is now going to become a victim of this system and eventually take her own life. While Krista has expressed fear that the family's legal avenues are limited, she has said that they intend to find the means they can against Montana Child and Safety Services as well as the hospital where Jennifer was treated. I will be looking at it if we have a case against Youth Dynamics Group Home for socially transitioning our daughter against our wishes, Krista says. This is not about money. This is about standing up and telling our story. This does not happen to any other family. We will fight to save our daughter no matter what it costs us financially or emotionally. That's what parents do for their children.
Amen. So I'm part of a group of lawyers that's they're COVID litigation lawyers, but it's not really COVID. It's more that civil rights and fighting for the rights. If they need a Montana lawyer and anybody can get to them, you can email me at tlaw@protonmail.com and the group is national. We'll find them a Montana lawyer that's of the caliber to fight this. They need to file in federal court against the hospital, against CPS, against that group home, sue the living daylights, and put up a GoFundMe. Don't back down. Get their kid back. They've got to. If this happens to anybody else, Michael, you don't open the door to CPS. Get in the car and drive away. Go to Europe for a month. Go to Costa Rica for a month. Leave. Do not let them get your hooks in your child.
I think they have a GoFundMe set up. There
I mean,
it is.
You don't realize, Michael. So Cassia is texting me because I didn't remember, but AB 665 passed. So in California, we have I have to do a mea culpa here. This is the scary story that everybody was pushing. They were running around saying AB 665 is going to result in medical kidnapping. This is you get a situation where you've got woke, scary CPS, a hospital, a judge, all working to take your kid away, and you're screwed. And we have this reality where kids can consent to medical care at 12 years old in California. I mean, what you said it was really astute, Michael, even though you're not a parent, is you sit that child down and you have those conversations about suicide, about cutting the boobs off, cutting your penis off, how you're not going to be able to have babies if you start taking these puberty blockers. You may not even be able to have an orgasm if you start taking these puberty blockers. This is really serious. The puberty blockers, the steps to transition, you could be mentally frozen in time. This is not funny. And you should have a detransitioner on here, tell their story about their regret.
I've been meaning to reach out to Chloe Cole and see if she wanted to come on. But I would imagine she's probably just tired of talking about that. I would rather have Chloe Cole on and just be like, hey, what do you like? Like, what are you into? I just rather talk to her about just being a human. She's probably just tired of talking about that whole story. So,
Well, some of them, I mean, I don't know I think Chloe Cole's amazing, but you got to be careful. Some of them are monetizing their lives on the movement. I'm not a fan of that. There's like that one, I think the swimmer, she's doing that. I get her
I like her
money.
Well,
like, what am I going to give you money for? You're famous. You don't need my money. So we got to be careful. But Cassia made a really good point. So I'm a licensed California attorney, and when you go and you do, I had to pay my $500 for my license because it's due February 1st, and they ask you about your pronouns. The California State Bar is asking me about my pronouns.
Oh yeah, this is why I didn't go to a certain optometrist. I set up an optometrist appointment, and they sent me a questionnaire to answer before because it was a new optometrist, and that was one of the questions. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to see you guys.
And Cassia is saying that when she went to she scheduled an appointment to see her doctor, and she could choose her identity at the doctor's office. I identify as a millionaire then. I identify as a millionaire and a supermodel.
Well, here, so really quick, she's got a GiveSendGo set up. You guys can go to givesendgo.com and share. But you could type in help the Kolstads fight medical kidnap of freedom, or it's givesendgo.com/GBMG9. Got that? GBMG9. That's all it is. So givesendgo.com/GBMG9 if you guys want to go there and help her out, because yeah, they need a lawyer. So yeah.
Look how cute that kid is. They in the article they blocked out her face, but she's a cutie.
Unreal. So actually now I want to see if I could find something.
Michael, did you hear about the Utah woman who had a famous YouTube channel? She was like a parental advice giver type person, and she just went to prison because she's abusive.
No.
Did you hear about that one?
No.
I don't know. I think there's really no point to it, but it's just, you got to watch out who you trust in this world. And unfortunately, we can't trust our hospitals. We can't trust CPS. We can't trust dependency judges now.
There's nothing. All the institutions have been broken.
It's really, I feel for this family. As you're reading the article, the pain, the stress, the anxiety, the anger that they must be feeling. I mean, the powerlessness, right? CPS and the government and the hospitals took their child away.
It's insane on so many levels. And then the child just went from just being a 14-year-old, just being a pretty normal 14-year-old, just going through it. A 14-year-old is just going through some issues, like 14-year-olds do. Could it, you know what the best thing for that kid could have been? A mentor. Just a mentor that's had maybe
a new hobby, like
right, sports,
ice skating,
endorphins, yes, nature, endorphins, positive,
ultra marathons.
The point is all the things. It's not. Everybody thinks it's like, oh, you're having these thoughts, we need to give you this medication. Oh, you're having these thoughts, we need to chop off your tits. It's just like such extremes, when it's like, instead it's, oh, you're having these thoughts, when's the last time you exercised? Oh, you're having these thoughts, how's your diet? Are you drinking enough water? Are you doing any drugs? Are you getting enough sleep? Yes, like all the let's check all our foundation first. Let's make sure all that stuff's in order before we're like, hey, let's put your kid on high amounts of Ritalin. Do they even do that anymore? Is it some other drug now? What is it, Adderall?
When I was the dependency lawyer, I actually had to go into court a couple of times and say, I think you should take this kid off the Ritalin. I mean, looking at the medical records of the layman, it's not, that's not a good, you said it, Michael, diet, sleep, Love, new hobby.
Have I told you my Ritalin story?
No, you took Ritalin?
Yeah.
You know that's cocaine almost.
So this was a big deal. This was like this is a big deal for my parents. When I was I believe I was 8 because of the baseball team I was on. I was either 8 or 9. I'm pretty sure I was 8. Well, it's because baseball has something to do with it. Baseball is a huge part of my life. I'm 6'6", so I was like a really big kid, and I hit a lot of home runs and I threw really hard. So it was just, and even so when I was really young, and my dad was All-American basketball player. He played baseball at Wilcox High School with Carney Lansford, 4-sport guy, just a total jock. I come from a lot. My mom was a track person. She's 6 foot. I come from a long line of athletes.
Your mom was 6 foot, really?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a tall woman.
My sister's 6 foot. Yeah, we're like Nordic giants. It's it is. But so, well, I was put on Ritalin at a young age, at like 7 or something like that.
Who recommended it? Whose idea was that?
Some doctor. So I was in a program called the RSP program, or the Reading Specialist program. But all of us, being dumb kids, renamed it to Really Stupid People. But I've told this story on the show before. But like, you think about that right there, that's clever. Like, that's actually smart. That's actually a sign of intelligence.
You're making fun of a bad situation, right?
Yeah. So we just called it Really Stupid People, and we would come out of class. I remember I was in like 5th or 6th grade, and so we just all assumed we were less intelligent than everybody else. And that's sort of aside from the story, but we were put on Ritalin. Well, me and my best friend that were in the program together, we were on Ritalin. We had to go to the nurse's office every day and take the Ritalin. And the nurse would give us the pills, put it in our hand. She gives a paper cup with water. We put the pill in our mouth, swallow the water, spit the pills in the cup, and we'd throw it in the trash can because we hated how it made us feel. It made us feel. No, we wouldn't take it. It made us feel awful. We hated it so much. But every now and then, on the weekend, our mom would give it to us, and they would give us a glass cup. And I remember it even got to the point where my mom was like, "Show me your mouth. I want to make sure you're taking it." And like, looking back on it, I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. So you knew I wasn't taking it, but you let the doctor keep upping the dosage?" Because that's what was happening. They're like, "It's not working. He's still bouncing off the walls." Because I was a crazy kid. I was just super hyper. I was
a normal kid with energy.
Tons of energy.
You were a crazy kid ever again.
Yeah. So yeah, tons of energy. Cassia says AB665 passed.
Yeah.
So they kept upping the dosage, right? And like every now and then I had, like, my mom would make sure I took it. And one of those times was right before a baseball game. And I was like 8 years old. And I remember like trying to swing at a pitch, and the catcher had already caught the ball. And later that night, it was like my dad's a deadhead. My dad was a Grateful Dead bootleg recorder, like not a hippie, but like super peaceful, loving guy, big guy, but very, very like jolly, like not a threatening guy at all. Never raised his voice. I don't think he ever got in a fight in his life. Just a very jolly, nice person,
Yeah.
Well, that night, my dad, I'd never heard my dad yell like this before. And my dad didn't yell at my mom. He was yelling at my mom saying, "Never again, Kathy." I never took Ritalin again. Like after that moment, my dad took me off Ritalin. And looking back at it, that probably saved, I don't even know how much that saved me. Like that moment, my dad just taking me off Ritalin, because you saw what it did to me. It's just like, yeah, it's all the different things that he was saying too. I remember him saying, "He's just a kid. He's just yeah." He was just, yep. And yeah, Dad, good dude. He was a great dude.
And that's like, the public school system doesn't support kids like you, high energy kids. They want you to sit into a desk and conform. I mean, our public school system's indoctrination camps, right? But the truth is, and our adults and our educators so want kids to conform. The truth is, Michael, you were just a normal, energetic kid. I mean, if we could bottle that energy, and I could take some right now,
Well, the funniest part of all of it. So at the same time, I was a really good baseball player. I was the captain of the team, and baseball is, I mean, you got to understand things. So it was like this dueling thing. It was like, is he really, my dad was like, I don't think he's dumb. the RSP program, back to that, it was like I remember being in 6th grade and I had a gay teacher named Mr. Stevens. We had a 5-paragraph essay that we were supposed to write every week. 5-paragraph essay. Us dumb kids only had to write 5 sentences because we were dumb. So we just had to write a paragraph, and that was our thing. So I remember sitting at home, and I started writing, and I was like, you know what? It's just 5 sentences isn't really enough. I'm going to write the whole essay. I just decided to write the whole essay because I knew how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was just like floating by. I knew how to write the essay. But I only had to write 5 sentences because I'm in the dumb kids thing. And I just decided one day, I was like, no, I'm going to go with this thought. And I
go to the dumb kids class.
so I turned in the paper, and the next day, Mr. Stevens with his lisp, he had a butt chin too. He's, Michael, you stay in here at recess. And I thought I was in trouble. Like, I thought I did something wrong. He looked so mad. And he sits me down. He was like, did you do this? I was like, what? And he hands me, and he like, did you write this? And I was like, yeah. He was like, how long have you known how to write the essay? And I'm like the whole time. But you guys only make me write 5 sentences. Why would I write the whole, And he's just like, he is mad. And yeah, they kicked me out of the program. I wasn't in the program anymore. Not kicked me out. He was elated. He brought my parents in, talked with them. So this was 6th grade. I go to junior high, and I'm on the honor roll for like the rest of school, and I ended up graduating with a 4.0.
He took you off Ritalin, kicked you out of the stupid kids class, and you're on the honor roll.
That's yeah. So like it's just the perfect. Yeah, I got so lucky. I got so lucky that I had Mr. Stevens, my dad. I had in public school, I had some teachers that had like serious, profound impacts on my life and my way of thinking. And I got really lucky because like the old guard is gone, all those old school teachers that would really, like try to give you
as a kid. Yeah.
The teachers that taught you how to think, not what to think. They're all gone.
Yeah. My story is in 3rd grade. So I was always too smart, for school. It was like boring. So, remember when tube tops, just those little tube, it was like the stretchy tube tops. That's all it is.
Boy, do I.
Remember those tube tops? So I
for
shits and giggles in 3rd grade. I'm like, I wonder what would happen if I pulled one of those down. So I went over to the poor girl and I pulled him down. And my teacher, like your teacher, was Mr. Rapp, R-A-A-P. He came to my house and he sat down on the couch and he talked to my mom. He said, so this happened today. And, honestly, I think it's because Tracy isn't challenged enough. So we're going to move her into the gifted and talented program, the GATE program.
The GATE program. Yep.
Yeah. Instead
the opposite of really stupid people.
Instead of suspending me, kicking me out, sending me to juvenile hall, right? He's like, she's not challenged enough. Today, in that world, you go and pull a tube top down on a 3rd grader and the little girl goes screaming, you're a molester and a rapist and you're in juvenile hall, right? So you're right. The school guard educators are so
I want to be clear. Tracy is not suggesting anyone go pull down anyone's tube top.
No, I was in the 3rd grade. Nobody had boobs back in the 3rd grade. Yeah. But your B Sizzo, has a really good point here. You got to see this, Michael. Conspiracy theory. Okay, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's those in power who know high energy individuals are the ones that catalyze change, so they dope them up, preemptively slow the revolution. And you know what? Case in point, during COVID, what was open? The pot shops and the liquor stores. Right?
Yeah. And people were encouraged to stay inside, not exercise. It's like it was
closed.
There was never a better time for everyone to start a workout routine, start anything, start running. I'm going to say running, start cycling, start yoga, anything, jujitsu. Like that's what I love about running is it's free. I mean, you got to buy running shoes and stuff, but and
those aren't cheap.
No, they're not. But it's if you're going to do like a high level, like athletics at a high level, running's probably the cheapest sport you could do. It's like, if I got really jammed up, I could run in whatever shoes, but that's a whole different topic. But you get my point. Like COVID was never a better time for people to get healthy. And what was everybody encouraged to do? Stay in your house, freaking drink.
Go pot, drink. Yeah, people became alcoholics during COVID.
Some people did the whole transformation thing. There's a handful of people, I follow a bunch of them on Twitter,
What do you mean transformation thing? What do you mean?
that quit stuff and started exercising.
Whoa.
And yeah,
Okay.
like these are my people too. Those are like, and this is you bring up a whole other subject with the whole body positivity movement, the healthy at any weight crap that's being taught. Like this is it's a lie too.
Victoria's Secret models?
It's yes. So this whole thing that's being taught, like it's okay to be fat, and it's painted as if like you say you want people to get healthy or lose weight, that you're being fat phobic or whatever. People that want people that are overweight to lose weight and get healthy, they are the least likely people to make fun of someone for being fat. People that are fit, and especially people that went from being not fit to being fit,
Right.
those people that see other people out there that are currently not fit, but they're out there getting after it. Oh man, we are your biggest cheerleaders in the world. Like all of us, if we see somebody new out on the, like me personally, if I see somebody new out there on the trails, and you can kind of tell when somebody's inexperienced on the trails.
Yeah.
Are
they feel self-conscious? You can sort of sense that.
Yes. Oh, I'm hyping them. I am their hype man. I love it. I love it when I run into people on the trails. It's like, yeah, I just bring up random stuff. I love meeting people. Like I'll run. I'll try to keep up with people if they're faster. I'll slow down if they're slower. I love meeting people and getting after it. And
I don't talk on my trail runs.
Well, you should. But the point is that like this is what should be encouraged right now. Just help. Well, not right now. Always live a healthy lifestyle. Eat better. It's not just the exercise. It's getting out there in nature. Read all that good stuff. And what's taught? No, you can be healthy at any weight. Safe and effective vaccines. Cut your tits off. It's just like everything is backwards and everything sucks too. Like everywhere you go, everything sucks. Like I went to Home Depot. I think I complained. It might have been you that I was complaining about this too the other day. I went to Home Depot and everything's self-checkout. And the line is like from it's madness. So the line's from one end of the store to the other. It's all self-checkout. And there's enough people standing around self-checkout saying, that register's open now, sir. Like that's their only job. They stand there on their phone and then the register's open. They say, you can go over there. And it's like, yeah, dickhead, I can see that the register's now open. What are you doing? What is your job? What are you paid to do? Why aren't you at a cash register? Sorry.
Because they want to make sure people aren't going, Rick, here I'm paying for this one. Ooh, sticking this one in the bag. Ding. Paying for this one, sticking this one in the bag. That's their job.
I hate self-checkout. I hate self-checkout. It's bad for society. I really think it is.
No, I think the bags are bad for society. And the fact that they charge you for bags, pisses me off.
This is one of my things that I'm running on. I am going to do everything I can to repeal the grocery store bag tax. Everything I can. I'm not kidding. That drives me crazy. Another little one that I want to bring back. I'm not going to do 30 years. I think 40 years is fair. 40-year smog exemption on vehicles needs to come back.
You don't have to get your car smogged for 40 years?
If your car is 40 years or older, you don't have to smog it. That's how it used to be. So it used to be 30 years and it would go up a year every year. So like my first car was a 72 Chevelle, right? And at the time, 74 was the max year when I bought it. So, and then the next year, 1975s are now smog exempt. And then 1976 were smog exempt. And then they killed it. And it's so there's poor guys out there with 1977 Panteras, which are a badass car. It's a Ford rear engine car. It's not going to pass smog, never in California. And there's tons of really cool cars that are sitting in garages that can't legally be driven in California. And it's not, and these aren't cars that would be driven every day. It's not going to have any negative effect on emissions, the environment, all that crap. So
yeah,
I really want to bring back this.
Okay, so here's one that pisses me off, my washing machine. So we bought this house in 2019. So it was a used washing machine. They're big, but they're water efficient for the damn environmentalists, and they don't clean my clothes. So I literally, it's a nice washing machine, but it only gives you a little bit of water. So I have to take a bucket every time I do a load, put an extra bucket of water so that when you swish the clothes, there's actually water to clean them. And the problem is I can go out and afford to buy a brand new washing machine right now, but they will be worse. They will be less water. It's infuriating.
You got to get one from a different state, probably.
Right? Right? You have it shipped here.
Or, I mean, it's got to be like some stupid part in the washing machine that restricts the amount of water. So you could probably just swap out a part in the washing machine. Okay, I would imagine. Well, you got to think too. California they do it for guns. They do it for cars. They do it for washing machines. Like guns in California, a lot of people don't know this. The same gun in California is a little different than one in Nevada. Like in California, you can't just drop a bullet without a magazine. You can't just drop a bullet into the chamber rack and close the slide and fire the round. You can't actually pull the trigger without the magazine in the gun. It's a safety.
Wait a minute, you want me to test it live?
No, we can't do that. We're not going to do that. But it's also like like smog things too. Like there's cars that have like little parts that have to be on it that are different for California specific cars. So point is, the washing machine, they're not going to make a completely different washing machine for California. They're just going to have one part that's different in it.
Oh, here's another one. So remodeling my house. Okay, sorry, lawyer that's problem. Great. Remodeling my house, I go to buy a fixture or a light or the faucet, and they won't ship it to me because I live in California.
Oh, all sorts of stuff. Well, is it on Amazon or so? It's just
all of the sites, all of them, like Home Depot, Amazon, the specific remodel parts sites. They won't ship it to California. I'm like, what?
All sorts of stuff like that. Lots of car parts too. So I have a 1970 station wagon that's smog exempt. I could do whatever I want to that car. I could.
Were you grandfathered in with that?
1976 cars and prior, all 1976 vehicles, you don't have to smog and prior. Yeah, they don't have to be smog. You just register them.
They probably can't pass smog.
Well, no, they wouldn't. There's no. Yeah. Well, even like my 79 Chrysler, like. Even then, like my Chrysler doesn't have catalytic converters, just has mufflers. Like the smog standards for that are really high. There's like one part on it. It's a smog pump. It's just so stupid. My 79 Chrysler, this is one of the main reasons because I have the 79 Chrysler that I still have to smog, and there's just no reason for it. It's just
right.
Anyway.
So Wally World, you live in Pennsylvania. He wants bags back.
I guess they charge for him there too. Not shocked. They do it in a bunch of states.
Yeah, he's got to leave now, so he can't tell us. But he said liquor stores were closed in Pennsylvania during the scamdemic. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
they were open in Utah. You can't buy liquor on Sunday in Utah.
Yeah, Utah is super weird. Yeah, Texas is weird too. They got like those drive-through liquor things.
They have drive-through liquor things?
Yeah, they're like booths. They're weird.
That's weird.
At least I remember it when I was a kid. I haven't been to Texas for forever. I just remember that when I was a kid. I was like, I remember my grandpa like driving through and buying beer. It was weird. Yeah.
So Michael, you're going to be, where's your next speaking engagement for your campaign? Where are you going to, what's the next gig?
Tracy, I'm the podcast host. I'm supposed to be doing this with you. But
okay, so you guys, Michael is running for Senate in my area. So it's a personal thing with me because Laird is an idiot. He's a complete idiot. And I'm obviously really well connected in my local across the state. So
it's insane how Tracy knows everyone. Everyone I meet from Monterey knows Tracy already. Yeah. Every person I meet, it's freaking weird.
You love me or hate me. So, but all I got to tell you is I'm a lawyer, not a kindergarten teacher. So if you want somebody to hug you and pat your head, go elsewhere. But so he comes to town and he goes to this libertarian event, and the other candidate, one of the other candidates, Eric Tao, is there, and Laird is too big for his britches, and so he sends his like chief of staff. This chick is running for supervisor.
Yeah, the blonde chick.
And Michael blows them away. I mean, you can see how smart, intelligent he is. You blew him away on the windmill issue. And you blew him away on the affordable housing issue.
Well, first of all, I didn't blow anybody away on the windmill issue. I didn't present anything on the windmill issue. I just gave my 2 cents about it. And
see how modest he is.
It was that's really all I did. It's just, but people seemed to agree with what I was saying. And like Eric,
Michael, Wally World, when Pennsylvania liquor stores were closed, he would just drive to Delaware to buy booze. Anyway, sorry.
That's funny. It's hard for Californians to get to have like a perspective of like interstate travel, because California is such a big state, you know. It's like driving to Nevada is a long ass drive unless you're yeah. So.
Yeah, but so the three candidates that Michael's running against, Laird, Tao, and Verretta. Now, I've met Verretta. He's a very nice man. But with all due respect and kindness and love, he's milquetoast. He knows nothing about parents' rights. And look at Michael. He's not even a dad, and he knows more than that candidate. So sorry, Verretta. I love you, but I don't.
Well, I'm a coach. Like, so I don't. Yeah, I'm not a parent, but one thing that sucks with all of this. One thing that sucks with all this gender ideology stuff and the grooming crap and all the pedo crap is there's genuinely guys like me out there, you know, between like ages of 25 to 45 or whatever, that don't have kids, that genuinely want to teach what we've learned and things that have helped us that we wish we would have been shown when we were kids, that if we were shown these things, it might have put us in a better, like, there's people like us out there that like to do that for no monetary exchange. We just like to show kids how to be better. And I always say it's for a selfish reason, because I want you kids to protect me when I'm old and decrepit, because I don't want y'all psychopaths and trying to kill me. I want you guys to be cool with me. So
eunuchs that are all on drugs.
Yeah, all you crazy eunuchs.
I don't want stuck in 17 with no boobs.
I don't want all you crazy eunuchs trying to kill me. So I'm going to teach you things that help me along the way. But cross country, I mean, I'm highly encouraged by the kids that I come in contact with, and
kids are amazing.
It might be that I'm coming in contact with cross country kids, you know, and also they're mountain kids.
Amazing. And
they're becoming more based
in that role. Your job is to nurture them, help them thrive.
Nurture? No way. My job is to kick their ass and tell them to suck it up. Yeah,
that's a way to nurture.
It is. No, it is. Well,
you're not turning them into snowflakes, right?
Well, I run with the kids, like I do all the runs that they do. So
see that.
So there's no excuses. They don't get to hear. I don't want to hear it from any of them. And it's so funny because they're all kids and they're inexperienced runners. So whenever I run the same pace the whole time, same pace. I don't speed up. I don't slow down. Same pace. They see me coming behind and they all go sprinting off. And then they get all winded and they have to walk. And then I catch up to them. They see me coming again and they all go sprinting off. And I end up passing them in about a mile every time. And they never learn. They just do the exact same thing. Coach is coming. Yeah, it's funny.
That's funny. Well, okay. So Verretta is a milquetoast. Eric Tao. So we're trying to get his voting records. We think that he's a Democratic plant. I'm not going to go so far as call him a member of what is it? The CCP. The Communist Chinese Party, whatever that is. I'm not going to.
He's got links to China, but it also looks like he has links to Taiwan. So that would suggest that. I don't know.
China's everywhere. They're infiltrated us, and
he's got links to Ted Lieu, and he's got links to Andrew Yang. He's friends with Ted Lieu. He sat on a panel with Ted Lieu, Andrew Yang, and a bunch of other AI guys. He's friends with all the AI tech bros.
Who are these people besides Asian?
Ted Lieu's. What is he? A congressman? He's a California politician, and he's horrible. Okay. He was horrible. He's horrible on parents' rights. He was horrible on COVID. He's horrible on all the things. He's just another.
Michael, is he a Democrat?
Hardcore. Ted Lieu.
So that's that right there. So let me get this thought out. That pisses me off that the Democratic Party is planting someone who re-registered as Republican to fool everybody, right? It's like Nikki Haley.
Well, we're getting tinfoily here. I'm just going to say this is our theory.
Not tinfoily. That is a strategy. The Democratic money is backing Nikki Haley.
Oh, no. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about we don't know Eric Tao is. We don't know he's a plant. I think he's a plant. I do think he's a plant.
Let me tell you why I say that. I'm a lawyer. I choose my words very carefully. He came to a Patriot meeting. Now, there's a couple of really big Patriot groups here. They meet at the breakfast. They used to meet at the Breakfast Club in Seaside. And it was getting to a couple hundred people. He came to speak at the meeting, and some of the audience members were prepared. And they nailed him. I wasn't there, so I don't know what was said. I just heard parts of it. but it was things like they nailed him on supporting Planned Parenthood. They nailed him on the fact that he used to be a Democrat. They nailed him and nailed him and nailed him. He did not pass the Patriot test. Now, Patriots are
You're
not
talking about Tao still, right?
I'm talking about Tao. Patriots are not Republicans. There's actually a beef between rhinos and patriots, right? So these patriots are more grassroots types, and they grilled Tao. And he failed. He's a plant. So Veretta, God bless you, Veretta. You're a milquetoast. He's not putting anything into his campaign, and Tao is a plant. Laird, okay, now Laird. The thing I've met with Laird's staff, they're nice and professional.
Oh yeah,
but they're wrong on everything. And the one that pisses me off personally, this is not a parents' rights issue, but I have Airbnbs, and one of the Airbnbs that I have pays my mortgage in Carmel because it's ridiculously expensive. And their position and his chief of staff, like we talked about, Michael, this really makes me mad, is that having one of my houses in Airbnb is taking inventory off the market from affordable housing. That's bullshit, because if I was going to rent my house, it would rent for $5,000. That's not affordable. Most people can't.
You're using my words. You're using my words of describing it. She just said that in order to help to make housing more affordable, we need to outlaw short-term rentals. Short-term rentals is
because
so
it takes from the inventory.
Well, that has to be the logic behind it. That must be what she's trying to spin it. No, it doesn't make any sense.
If my houses go back on the market, they're going to be rented for $5,000 and $7,500. That's not affordable housing.
No, there's no such thing as affordable housing in Monterey. Are you kidding?
Right.
Like, are you joking? And not Seaside. There's no such thing as affordable housing in Salinas.
Right.
Like this is California. I don't care where you go. It's going to be way above anywhere else in the country. Wherever you go. I don't care if you go to Los Baños. It's still going to be pretty darn expensive. Yeah, a lot cheaper than it is here. But there's no such thing as affordable housing.
Anyway, Michael is the best choice. Party aside, he and part of it, you guys, part of it is that he's going to go into the office and he is not going to fall to the corruption and the money and the power. I mean, he won't do it. He just won't do it.
Part of the easy, you know why part of the easy part for me to not give in to any sort of like money thing is, well, I wouldn't move. Like I would stay here if I got the job, and the job pays like 30 grand more a year than I've ever made in my life. I would be rolling in the money compared as I'm the only person that's running that's not taking a pay cut, that's actually looking forward to this, just the regular salary. You know, you get a per diem too. They give you like 200 and something bucks a day.
I know, but Michael, you do need to say that you need contributions to your podcast because this is your livelihood now. So don't forget to ask for donations, people. If you can drop some dough on Michael, a little angel dropped some dough on him the other day. Can I tell this story?
Sure. Yeah.
So Michael and I have become friends. He got me on Tucker, and that was a bucket list. And ever since then, we've just been friends. I consider you a really good friend.
Ditto.
So he texted me the other day. He's feeling down. He's really feeling down, and he's like, "I got to sell my car. I can't. My PG&E bill is $900." I'm like, "Why is your PG&E bill $900, Michael? Jesus, are you running a sauna in there? I mean, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, I haven't paid in 3 months."
Thanks,
like, I'll explain why it was $900. He said, I got to sell my car to continue. And I'm no kidding. Like, must have been 2 hours later. Maybe it was 3 hours later. It was that night. You texted me, "God is great," or "God is good." And I was like, okay, Michael's calmed down. He's not feeling down. He's not feeling like he's going to give up. He's not down in the dumps kind of thing. Because we talked through all the options. Can you get another job? Can you put more ads on Craigslist? Can you wait on tables, for the love of God, right? Which is what, if I lost everything I had, I'd just go start waiting on tables. So that's all he says. It's God is good. And then what was it? You came the next day in a couple days later, and you come to that event where you met Laird's idiot chief of staff and Tao the communist. And you said, "Tracy, do you know what I meant by God is good?" And I said, I figured you quieted down and started praying, and he gave peace, and he said, "No, somebody dropped $3,000 on me." Like, oh my God, God, see, that is the power. That is you're in the flow, Michael. You really could do good for our state, and people need to support you, right? The people that don't get involved need to support you. Drop some dough on Michael, please.
But that $3,000 really, like, that gets me like almost 2 months. You know, my rent is $1,800. It's just, and I'm getting little side jobs here and there. Like I'm out at a TV and a sound bar for somebody. That was yesterday, and or no, did it? Maybe yesterday. I think.
What do you charge to mount a TV and a sound bar?
I mean, that I charged $450 for that, but
okay.
Like,
well,
it was a friend.
I have one you can mount. I do actually.
Okay.
I'm dead serious.
Okay. Yeah. This one was different. It was like high above a window. You know, it was there's a big TV. So like normally you need 2 people to do that, but since I'm 6'6", I could do it on my own, and that was like the only reason I can get away with charging cheaper, because I don't need to bring another person with me.
Okay.
But it's like that's the stuff that's been keeping me afloat, is like little side work. I'm not kidding. I shoveled shit. I shoveled horse shit. Like
when? Where?
It's this side job. Actually, same. I have and I am not complaining about shoveling shit at all either. Like I have no problem shoveling shit. If shoveling shit paid the bills, if I went and had to shovel shit for 6 hours, could come home and do my podcast, and like everything's and I had time to campaign, and I had time, and I saw time to get my runs in and all that, I'm as happy as a clam. We're good to go. But like, yeah, that's the stuff I'm doing, you know? So
yeah. Well, and just to be very, very clear, Michael's got 2 donation portals. One is for the podcast and one is for the campaign. And he is not using campaign money for personal stuff. So
you can't.
We're on the record. He's very careful with that. And if you know anybody who wants to be a volunteer campaign manager,
what do you mean? If you guys can't tell, Tracy's basically my campaign manager.
I'm not.
You've gotten me a couple of speaking engagements already. You've introduced me to some people. You
know why, Michael? Because Laird is my current senator, and he needs to go.
He's garbage.
In my area. Yeah, you could be my senator.
And I'll say that straight to his face. He's garbage. I'm sure he's
a nice man, but his policies are garbage.
No, I'm not even going to say he's a nice man at this point. He's a garbage human being. I don't care if he says nice words to people. What you are helping perpetuate is evil. Like you are. I mean, I'm sorry, sir, but you are my enemy. And I will, all of these things I will say directly to his face, directly to his little blonde minion's face. You people are doing psychopathic things, and you're ruining the state. You are ruining parents' rights. You're ruining our environment. This offshore wind shit that they want to do.
Have you talked about that yet on your show, the windmill thing?
No, I started putting together a whole episode on it, and it's just it takes me down one rabbit hole, down to another rabbit hole, down to another one, and I can't. Yeah, there's so much to go through that it's going to end up being like a 4-hour episode.
Okay, but just nutshell it. This is what Michael taught me, you guys. He taught me that the windmill. Now, you're going to correct me because I don't have enough space in my brain for law and all this shit. But
like Kelly Bundy
on the coast. Okay, it's a giant metal thing with a motor, is what you told me. And
it's the same windmills that you see.
Yeah, you're basically slowly killing whales. Tell that. To me, that's environmentalists have gone crazy.
Well, yeah, but it's not just the whales. There's all sorts of stuff. But but
do the part about the whale. Don't.
Well, it's a spinning motor, and the post, or the mount, for lack of a better term, the pole that it's mounted on goes. I mean, the foundation for it goes all the way down to bedrock. And I mean, if you drive something into the ground and it has a heavy, low pitch, low frequency sound, it's going to vibrate the whole seafloor, and that's what's happening. And it's messing up whales' echolocation, and it's essentially torturing whales to death because they hear like a jackhammer all day long, 24/7, and they don't have anywhere to go. Not just that, they have these big giant vessels, these big giant orange ships to service these things, these big huge orange ships. And they have they also have to dredge. And these ships, they are so close to the coastline. When the whales have babies, they hug the coastline and they keep the whales in between like the deep sea and the coastline so they can protect their babies. You know what I'm saying? They use the coastline as to protect a whole side.
Like you kind of lean up against the wall, and
predators can only come from one side now, right? Yeah. So, well, these ships get in the way. So now the whales have to take a different route, and it completely exposes them to more predators too. So there's that. Then there's the dredging that they have to do, where they have to dredge 20 feet. I think 20 feet deep by super wide, like 100 feet wide, like just dredge out so they can go down to bedrock and build all these posts, right? And then if you know electricity, all of these things are daisy chained together with electrical cables. And they were going to bury them. That's what the trenches are for, because you have to bury them so deep, but they always come unburied. Electrical cables, especially when we're talking about that kind of current, big giant electrical cables, they have a giant electromagnetic field all the way around them. That's why rats chew on electrical cables. They're attracted to them. That's why rats chew on Romex, and you find fried rats to your electrical cables. So they're just attracted.
Well, that's okay with me. Fried rats are good.
But not when your power goes out and it starts to fire under your house. But this is a real thing. So the electromagnetic field is messing with all sorts of sea life. The cables corrode, and then it's like, why don't we just start throwing batteries in the ocean? Because that's what you're going to do at a certain point. If the cables corrode and all of a sudden they start conducting and arcing, it's underwater. Like, this is electricity. So all these cables are daisy chained together. So they stopped talking about instead of burying them, they're talking about just letting them like suspend, like free underwater. You know, something's going to get hung up on them. The motors themselves, they're filled with gear oil. They break, they catch fire. In a sea, anyone that has worked in in any sort of environment on the coast or on the ocean knows that all of your stuff corrodes 10 times faster. Salt water and salt air just rips stuff to shreds. Anything metal, it just rips it to shreds, and they rust way quicker. You got to keep things you got to lubricate and oil things way more. These things are going to fail. And when they do, they're going to catch fire into a ton of gear oils. It's just going to leak into the ocean. And they're talking about putting these things everywhere. There's zero good reason behind any of this to do this. The only reason that you can see it being done is you trace the money all the way back up to the top, to BlackRock and Vanguard and all these.
BlackRock and Vanguard, are they in everything?
Yes.
You know, I get those phone calls. Would you like to sell your house? And I said, yeah, for $5 million. Click. Yeah. Are they in everything? Jeez.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is how Newsom and Laird are gonna make money off windmills.
So they're probably not. But it's this whole thing is being.
Why are they championing it so hard then?
Why were they championing vaccines? So why do they keep on repeatedly
money? And Bill Gates wanted the population control.
Okay, well, you know that someone's getting their wheels greased on the back end. I mean, why when you see government so strongly backing something that doesn't make sense, like the vaccines, like the gender ideology stuff? Like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to trans all the kids? Like, why are we doing this? This is you're creating state legislative policy around this stuff. And why are you mandating the vaccines on the schedule? Why are you making it illegal for doctors to say anything bad about the vaccines? All these super nefarious things that they're doing.
Population control. They wanted to kill a lot of people, and they are.
Okay, well, you're getting tinfoily there.
That is not tinfoil hat.
I'm not saying I'm disagreeing with you, but it is. I'm just anything that can't be concretely proven.
Calling me a tinfoil hat in the chat, so I'm not.
I see there's two different videos I found now of Bill Gates saying that too, by the way. Yeah. If we do a really good job with vaccines, we will reduce the population. There's two different videos of him saying that now.
Yeah, and I'm the one that gets the calls. Oh, my neighbor's 12-year-old daughter dropped dead in the shower because the dumbass got her the COVID injection. You know,
yeah, There's a dude I worked with.
But I want to tell you guys about, so from the beginning of this thing that we're doing here, James Patrick is a documentarian, and he did a documentary on this whole trans movement, and it's a woman called Jennifer. I'm going to give you it right now. Jennifer Bilek, Bilek, and it's called "Who is Behind the Trans Agenda." I don't know if you can see that. I don't know how to, but I really encourage anybody, if you want to know why this is happening, she'll tell you who's behind it. Seriously. And Michael, you should watch this too. It's fascinating.
Text it to me. I'll watch it. I hate all of it. I hate all of it so much. Well, you know what, Tracy? Those were pretty much all the things that I wanted to get into. Yeah, actually,
so I can go watch my Sex in the City.
Is that still a thing?
I started over. I ran out of things to watch. I started over.
Oh man, maybe you are you're an awful in disguise.
No, actually, I have to go do my continuing education for the bar that's due 25 hours is due by midnight. So that's what I'm going to do this evening.
That math ain't mathin', Tracy.
Well, I've done, let's see. I don't know. It doesn't say. I think I'm at 14 hours.
All right. Well, where can people find you and support your work and all that kind of stuff?
CaliforniaParentsUnion.com. Join us. And if you guys are in Fremont, Newark area in California, we're going to have a great event. Jennifer Kavanorkis was on here. I don't know if she's still here. If you go to CaliforniaParentsUnited.org to the events page, it'll tell you where this event is. We have a 25-year teacher and a 30-year teacher. We're all going to talk about how to leave the teachers' unions and why the teachers unions are destroying our schools. So it's a live taping too. So
you should talk to my homie Juliet. She's what's called a super sub because she can't get a teacher job because she refuses to join the teacher union.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're preventing her. That's actively the teachers union. Where does she live? Where does Juliet live?
Well, I don't want to put her on blast, but near me.
You're here? Okay. Well, if she wants to come to the event, I'd love to put her on the stage and have her tell her story, because we're going to tape the conversation and then we're going to use it to educate teachers and encourage them to leave the union. And we're going to defund the teachers union, baby. So CaliforniaParentsUnion.com. Our events are on CaliforniaParentsUnited.org's event page. And please join us. We need to get to 500,000 members so we can be bigger than them.
All right, Tracy, you're the best. Thank you so much for joining. Let me just check in with the chat here. B Sizzo, ? Danger, Wally World, Jennifer, Cassia, a whole bunch of you guys tonight. Thank you guys all for hanging out. Pete Grabber. Tracy, I don't know if I did this the last time you were on the show. There's part of the show that has become a thing, and we can't end the show without telling a joke from the greatest book ever written, The Truth About Chuck Norris. So let's see what we have tonight. All right. You ready? I just pick a random joke and we just go with it. It might be funny. It might not be funny, but we're going to see.
Okay.
All right. I got it. I haven't read the joke yet. We're just going to go with it. We're going to see what happens. All right. You ready for the Chuck Norris joke of the evening? Okay. If you unscramble the letters in Chuck Norris, you get Huck Corn Sir. That is why every fall Chuck travels to Nebraska and burns the entire state down. And on that note, stay CaliBased.
That was